Good evening and welcome to tonight's bulletin. Coming up, Ghana is playing Burkina Faso now for a date against Nigeria in the Cup of Nations final on Sunday. UK court sentences arms dealer who sold 2 fighter jets to Ghana for engaging in an unlicensed sale. Government pharmacists threaten to partially withdraw their services to protest poor wages. The desperation for potable water as a result of the ongoing water rationing program is driving people to resort to unorthodox sources of water, endangering their health in the process. In business, 2012 saw a decline in investment inflows. All these and more coming up shortly. Police in the Upper East region have allegedly shot dead one man at Via in the Bongo district while protecting a contractor doing some maintenance work on the Via irrigation dam from angry protesters from the community. The incident occurred on Wednesday. Upper East correspondent Abesori has more.
Incident occurred while the community was protesting against a contractor whose name has been given only as Adams of Unitax Services Limited. He is alleged to have attempted to break a rock regarded as a god in the community's shrine to be used in construction works at the Via irrigation dam. According to spokesperson for the land custodian of Via, known as the Via Tindana, Simon Baba, several other rocks they offered the contractor in place of the rock at the shrine were rejected. Therefore, members of the area have always stopped the contractor's early attempts to break the rock they worship. On Wednesday morning, the contractor came with police protection to make another attempt at breaking the rock, a move the community members tried to resist in a protest. Police fired warning shots in attempts to disperse the angry protesters, some of whom allegedly pelted the police with stones. The firing of the warning shots resulted in the death of a young man identified as Gideon Enia, a final-year student of the Winneba College of Education. Simon Baba is a family member of the deceased and spokesperson for the Via Tindana and insists that they can identify the officer who shot at Gideon.
We are calling on the IGP to put an independent body to investigate into the matter, and that who ordered the security men to come to the grounds and why they have to use last bullet to take my brother's life away. That's why we are appealing to the IGP to investigate this matter for us.
When Joy News contacted the Upper East Regional Police Commander DCOP Bright Oduro, he was unable to give further details. As he says, the police is still investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting. We'll keep you updated as the story unfolds.
We're now joined on the line by our Upper East Regional correspondent Albert Sorry for the latest on this story. Good evening to you, Albert. Quickly tell us what the situation is on the ground right now.
Well, Israel, a while ago, before I left the community, it appeared that they were trying to bring more security personnel to the area. For what reason, it is unclear, because I did not see members of the community threatening any further attack or anything. But I met some police vans entering into the area. Later on, we saw some military vehicles also coming into the neighborhood. What I can say for now is that the area is calm. Nobody is threatening anything. The only thing from the members of the community is that they are calling for justice. And a lot of them are not so happy about what has happened, really.
And Albert, what is the police telling you?
Well, for now, what the police commander tells me is that the municipal police commander who is in charge has to report to him as to exactly what happened. And as at the time I was talking to him this afternoon, what he told me was that the municipal commander, as far as he knows, says that he is not aware of any shooting that took place this morning. And I was trying to find out from the family of the deceased gentleman. What they were telling me is that they had not yet made a formal report to the police on the matter. And so that may just account for the reason why the police is saying that they are not aware of the incident. So for now, we will have to wait for a formal report to be lodged at the police station, and then we see how the investigation into the matter unfolds.
All right, thank you very much. You heard Albert Sorry. He's our Upper East Regional correspondent, and he was bringing us up to date on that unfortunate story there. But in other news, Ghana is playing Burkina Faso for a place in the final against Nigeria. Now, the scores before the results of the game before I came on to the show to start the news was a 1-1 draw. But I'm going over to George Addo. He's at the one of our viewing centers at airport, and he's going to bring us up to speed as to what has taken place so far. I'm told we don't have him on the line. We're going to be going back to him. But in other news, the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association has threatened to withdraw some services to protest its members' displeasure with the salaries they are earning now under the single spine salary structure. Gospel President Stephen Kokwe tells Joy News, Eric Curtis Herwood, members will work according to their current earnings if nothing is done immediately about their situation. The association has meanwhile petitioned the National Labour Commission to look into their grievances before the situation gets out of hand.
Properly handled.
The Gospel President gave details about a meeting with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission he says did not go too well.
But the main issue which continuously make us worse off is the market premium. They categorically said that they don't have the mandate on it. And so the issue about the pharmacists being worse off as a result of the migration onto the spine is still lingering around. A lot of our pharmacists didn't receive salaries for 3 consecutive months last year. December, most of our pharmacists either had a 0 salary or a reduced salary. So we were expecting that migrating onto the spine come January, there will be some appreciable amount of remuneration that will take care of these shortcomings. Unfortunately, because the grade structure and the entry market premium that we have been fighting along has not been dealt with properly, these salaries that was paid in January was even lower than our previous salary.
He says the various negotiations aimed at resolving their problems has taken way too long. He alleges a conspiracy against them.
Can you imagine that your 3 years back pay salary, including the January salary, is lower than your old salary before migration? It is disastrous. It has never happened in the history of pharmacists. We think that there is some amount of conspiracy to pin down the pharmacists. Because other than that, how can such a thing take for almost 15 years and continue to go along that way? February will come, we will still have a salary that is lower than our basic salary. And that is not very good at all. In fact, our members are dissatisfied, they are demotivated, and in fact, there's a lot of agitation all over the country.
As members of the essential service providers, pharmacists are expected to provide around-the-clock service to the public. But former president of GOSPA, Philip Tete, warned a partial withdrawal of their service will be inevitable if government refuses to address their issues.
Under normal circumstances, we should be paid what they called overtime allowance. So if government is saying that our premium, which translates into the additional duty hours allowance, has been reduced because government does not have money, then what it means is that Saturday, Sunday, public holidays, night duties, we will stop them. and work just like any other worker, because this is what makes us essential.
The association is meanwhile not ruling out an all-out strike if the situation remains unresolved by the end of February, explaining most of their members have already given up on the system.
All right, so we're going back to airport, to one of our viewing centers where George Addo Jr. is standing by. He, just like several other Ghanaians, are watching the match, the Ghana's match now with Burkina Faso. And he's going to bring us up to speed as to what exactly is taking place. Well, I've had the opportunity to watch the match because I've been involved in preparation for the bulletin, but he has, and so he's going to be bringing us up to speed. George, you tell us.
What happened in the last scenes of what happened in the last African Cup of Nations in Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, continue to play out here. The fans are very, very, very disappointed. Most of them are so worried about what is happening currently. It's a very, very big situation out here. Remember that Ghana was hoping to beat Burkina Faso to get into the next stage of the competition. That's the final. There are a number of talking points out here. The very first one is what was supposed to be the correct replacement for John Paintsil when he walked off early on in the game with a hamstring. The other questions about whether Derek Boateng is really the man to give the team the sort of shield that's there. Of course, there are issues about why Anthony Annan has not been allowed to come onto the pitch. The fans are just talking about so many things. They are a bit, divided. Some feel that really before the game, Ghana didn't look convincing. Others feel that the Black Stars can still go on to win this game. As it stands now, everybody is sitting on tenterhooks, everybody the edge of the seat, and nerve-wracking movements continue to unfold in this particular game. It's so close to call right now. And if I can say anything about when we spoke to the fans after the first half, it was rather, little shout here of confidence. They were hoping that the Black Stars will be able to do well. But once Bansi got that equalizer, everybody has gone down. And those scenes of the Black Stars losing out in the final in the last African Cup of Nations continue to play here. It's very difficult to see where the goals are coming now. Currently, the Burkina Faso team really seem to be on top of the game now. And I have to say it's a 50-50 situation. And most of the fans are also talking about the fact that Ghana has not got a very good record when you get into the penalty shootout. And so they are hoping that the Black Stars will be able to at least get the result before the game runs into extra time and penalty shootout. So rather interesting, and I'm sure we'll be bringing some more updates for those who are watching us, and you can join us on Joy Sports TV, because at the end of the second half, we're coming your way with more reactions on that one, on the AFCON Pop Series.
All right, thank you very much, George Addo Jr., bringing us up to date with fan reactions there from the Pokey Sports at Airport. And we'll be bringing you some more. Each time we have a go, we're going to be bringing you those details as and when it happens. But in other news, seriously, everybody is sitting on tenterhooks, and my heart's actually pounding. In other news, a UK court has sentenced an international arms dealer to 2 years in prison over the sale of 2 fighter jets to Ghana without a valid license. Christopher McDonnell is said to have made more than $4 million in the sale of the Chinese-made K-8 fighter jets, which were acquired in 2007. His sentence would, however, be suspended if he serves an optional 200 hours of community service.
2007, 2 years after the deal, and by which time the first 2 aircraft had been supplied. He, however, argues he got detached from the deal sometime in 2007 after he claimed to have been marginalized by the government of Ghana, who started dealing directly with the plane supplier CATIC. He also told the court the first sets of jets were delivered to Ghana without his knowledge. He was nonetheless convicted and sentenced to 2 counts of dealing in arms that were being supplied to Ghana without a valid license at the Guildford Crown Court on January 28. Acting Senior Press Officer at the His Majesty Revenue and Customs spoke to Joy News.
I mean, what this guy was doing is he simply didn't have the correct documentation to enable to carry out that transaction in the UK. Now, as I understand it, this chap, Mr. McDowell, was a licensed, a registered arms dealer, but what he didn't have was a license to sell across international borders. So he supplied a fighter jet, 2 fighter jets, I think, from China to Ghana, and what he should have had was applied to the UK government for a license to do so. He failed to do that, despite knowing that he needed to, and instead decided to pocket the money from his commission without applying for a license. Once he realised or after he actually carried out the trade, he tried to order a license retrospectively, so to speak, so after the event. However, that's when it was identified that he'd already carried out his action, already got his money, and that he was just trying to cover his tracks, basically. But it does send out the message there that he's found guilty, and if people are going to trade in arms, they need to make sure they've got the right licenses and paperwork first.
I was just wondering if the ruling by the court has any implication for the receiving country, in this case, Ghana.
Not that I'm aware of. The jets, I understand, were supplied to, I think, the Ghanaian Air Force. So I don't think there's any questions about, the validity of the purchase. It's just simply that Mr. McDowell should have had a license to do so, and he failed to do that, which is why the UK government have taken action against him.
In other words, if he didn't have a license, then he cannot be tracked.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's it. There was a similar case a couple of weeks, a couple of months previously, of a Mr. Hyde who was supplying arms to Nigeria, I believe, from China to Nigeria, and that was around 400,000 guns and ammunition, and that was exactly the same thing. He didn't have the proper licensing, and he got 7 years.
Christopher McDowell has also been implicated in similar armed deals with the Sudan Liberation People's Army, in violation of an international arms embargo.
Incoming member of the Council of State for Greater Accra Region, Emmanuel Ajay Anang, has retained his seat. He won all the votes cast, leaving his 3 challengers with nothing. One of the contenders, Ali Adam, has however described the election as problematic.
Section 4 of the Constitutional Instrument 1993, CI1, which established the election of regional representatives on the Council of State, provides that the Electoral College shall comprise 2 representatives from each of the districts in the region nominated by the district assemblies in the region. For this reason, the Electoral Commission opened nominations last month for all interested persons to file and contest to be elected to the council. On Wednesday across the country, delegates from district assemblies went to the polls to elect representatives to the Council of State. Delegates of the Greater Accra region retained their Council of State representative, Emmanuel Ajay Anang. All 32 votes cast was in his favor.
I also want to assure my fellow contestants that I listened to them carefully, and I have taken on board the concerns that they intend to bring on board to make sure our DCs are properly taken care of. I will only want to plead that as leaders of our various districts, we know the problems we have in Greater Accra, and we only need to unite.
While some candidates thought the incumbent had familiarity as an advantage, others were of the opinion candidates should have schooled themselves on the CI1.
Every contestant must at least be furnished with the people, the list of the delegates, at least a week or 2 before the elections. But in a situation where you don't even know them, how are you expecting to have a single vote? So clearly it's a reflection of what has happened. You understand? We've not had the occasion to campaign to any person because we don't even know the delegates who are to vote. For the result, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You understand? We accept it in good faith, and we are also going to help the winner to execute his functions.
I was able to lay hand on the Constitution, and then the Constitution spelled out clearly that the delegates will be coming from the various districts. So I went around the various districts, and I had the opportunity to talk to all the delegates who came to vote today.
But according to the regional EC chairman Alex Poku Akobia and the mayor of Accra, Alfred Oko Vanderpoy, the process was free and fair.
I think by the results, we know whom everybody voted for, and we know the outcome of his involvement is going to be great for the entire nation.
Other contestants at the election include Ali Adams, Kwade Anthony Mawena, and Sebastian Selby Ashong Katai. Concerns have, however, been raised about the increasing nature of politicization in the election of regional representatives to the Council of State.
Elsewhere, one of the 7 unsuccessful contestants for Council of State representative in the Ashanti region is accusing the winner of votes buying and NDC regional executives of selling their conscience. Richard Ofori Agyeman Boadi, the youngest among the field Council of State members, said he has a list of delegates who were camped and paid to do the bidding of the Twase Hene. Regional correspondent Mohammed Nuruddin has the rest of the story.
Out of the 10 who filed their nomination, 7 contested as 2 withdrew. The certain member, Twase Hene, pulled 39 votes, with his closest challenger, Reverend Dr. Seth Frimpong, pulling 12 votes. Nana Ameya Kotoko II secured 8 votes, while the rest, including Richard Ofori Agyeman Boadi, also known as Zuba, obtained 0 votes. But Richard Ofori Agyeman Boadi believes the election was fraught with vote buying. He said 31 people were camped and paid 400 Ghana cedis.
They paid each one 4 million cedis. And I pay many Masun Kwata chairman, Kasami envelope. They are church for another was Gothic, white envelope. They are church black, bold, letterheads. Near them 400 cedis. Again, my name is regional vice chairman, Mr. Beyenya engagement, and I pay our boss FM radio so. Or admit I said was him and 10 million. Or my boss friend who DC 2 million. Or my regional organizer 2 million. They pay them to do their bidding. But region.
He pledged not to develop a script on a project. Let my vote stand to support the NDC.
And I've been asked to develop a script on a project. Let my vote stand to counter the Let My Vote Count campaign that the MPP is waging. And you think I am a fool to do that and my party people will betray me like this? Let them go and organize as they organize and pay them to go and get on the street and do the bidding that they want me to get on the street to do. I'm not a fool. They should let Twase develop the script and get on the street and fight for the NDC.
Meanwhile, the winner of the election promised to work hard and called for support from the delegate.
Osi from Emam, Afu de Onosi no from. And Urabe Queen, as you see from Edimame, with the Asida in the Cabia, and Maromo, a Blesemono, me, a Besasia, and in an anima, Gina Yano, many mobile partners. Now she and Ramono, one de Bimamia, Mesum de Aponka, Madame Asiva, Isha Alao.
Earlier, Joe News spoke with some of the delegates.
I'm looking at capabilities, a person who can deliver and help Ashanti region. Once he's going to represent the region, who will be somebody with a very high intellectual capacity.
Now, the very latest update on Ghana's match against Burkina Faso in AFCON 2013. The match has ended 1-0, and so it will be moving into extra time. But still on Council of State elections across the country, 66-year-old Guli Na Seidu Brahima has been elected for the second time to represent the Upper West region at the Council of State. In an election that was codenamed the Royal Battle, or the Battle of the Royals, he polled to 13 of the 22 Electoral College votes cast, beating 2 other contestants at the Wa Municipal Assembly Hall. The election was conducted by the Upper West Directorate of the Electoral Commission. President John Dramani Mahama will move permanently from the Christiansborg Castle in Osu to the Flagstaff House tomorrow to conduct official government business there. Though some forms of government business were conducted at the Flagstaff House during the presidency of former President Kufuor and Preston Mills, the Flagstaff House has remained largely unoccupied until some offices were used by the Foreign Affairs Ministry when the office complex got burned in October 2009. Minister of Information and Media Relations, Mama Ayariga, has been speaking to Joy News about the move.
The assurance we want to give to the public is that the issues have been dealt with, and so we are satisfied that the presidency can move into the Flagstaff House, and that's why the security team has given a clearance. So we remain confident, and so I don't think that there's any cause for alarm. Tomorrow, the President will move from here, the castle, to the Flagstaff House. There will be a short ceremony before he begins operating from there. So the business of government will move from the castle here to the Flagstaff House. As you will know, the Vice President is already operating from there, and the Foreign Ministry has been doing work from there. From time to time, there's been one or two ceremonies associated with the presidency there. I recall that under President Mills, we held the annual meeting with members of the diplomatic corps there. And so it's been used once in a while, but now the president will formally move into the facility, and the business of government will be undertaken from there.
Will the president make the place his residence? Will he be living there along with the vice president?
Oh, the vice president is not residing there. The vice president only occupies the office that there's a wing of it that is for the vice president. There's the presidential wing and there's a vice presidential wing. And the vice president moved into his wing at the beginning of the year, and he's been operating from there. And the president will be occupying the presidential wing. They are not residing there. The president hasn't given indications regarding when he will move into residence there, but for now he will be operating officially from the Flagstaff House.
Our presidential correspondents for the various media houses are anxious, or they are eager to start working from the Flagstaff House because of the better facilities and better working environment. With a few hours before, corresponding from the Christian Borg Castle in Osu Sees, some of the journalists have been sharing what they will be missing about the historic edifice.
This edifice was built in the 1660s. Its size now is 4 times the original size because it has gone through renovations over the years. It has also been the seat and residence of governments some time before and since 1957 when Ghana regained its independence. From tomorrow, the story is changing. History is being made as the presidency is moved away from here to the Flagstaff House. It has usually been referred to as the corridors of power. This building has held on to some kind of a sacred myth. One of the things journalists tell me they will miss, a feeling of security due to the location. The myth about the castle will perhaps be broken with the movement of the presidency to the Flagstaff House. For the media men and women who have covered the presidency over the period, it is a bittersweet feeling as they leave the known for the unknown.
We've become, so used to the place, and it feels good working from here, with all the history. That is the seat of the first Republican government of President Nkrumah. It also feels quite good going back to that place. With TV3, we are just next door neighbors to the Flagstaff House. Walk across the street.
Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was the only president who used the Flagstaff House, and after the coup, it was turned into an army headquarters. And so I feel good going back there. And we don't really have a place where we can sit and then work on our stories ahead of time. And so I am thinking, or I am anticipating that place, provision will be made for the media.
Probably it would also come with a new thinking.
Right, so those are the journalist wish list. My wish list is that Ghana just qualifies for the final. We'll be back after this break. As people affected by the recent water rationing in Greater Accra go about their daily hassle to find water, there are fears some private water operators may offer unsafe water for sale. To the unsuspecting consumer, the desperate search for water might lead them into a new public health crisis. Joy News' Adelaide Arthur has more.
As the demand for water increases in areas affected by recent water rationing, the dangers of buying polluted water is also high. In this time of need, consumers may compromise on quality, while private water operators make brisk business. Private water operators confirm supply cannot match demand for the scarce commodity, which has increased in recent times. Kwesi Rie is a private water operator, and he tells Joy News his supplies to customers are sourced from boreholes and wells at places such as Kwabenya, Asofa, and Ofanko. The issue is, How safe is the water for drinking or preparing meals? He explains the kind of water supplied is determined by what it will be used for.
She say imunso until borehole na you use. Get the supply ma for but borehole no. Ye woni ye de ma omo use ofie. And papa will be to me anom. Na work construction for so dear. Oba na ebisa say bia adwuma ben of the kwakwesa. So the kwakwaya bia obi use ofie ben man na say we ya and the na akọ kwabenya. Nya akọ bia bro. I want to know fine.
The Wager Lake is also a source of water for some private water operators. Using pumps powered by generators, many water tanks are filled and supplied to customers. Business as usual seems to be going well for owners of the generators as well as drivers of the water tankers.
Two cities, the way our tank and so I may charge because of my petrol and my machine.
They are, however, quick to deny supplying the unpeated lake water to consumers to be used as drinking water.
And therefore, say one more day, because in treaty, the demand for construction 1 more year is here. Yeah, but on office, yeah, that's all business ABR. At times I am or the flashing toilet. And the overcatching to me.
The private water operators insist their customers are aware that the lake water is not safe for drinking, and so they put themselves at risk if they choose to drink the untreated lake water after it has been supplied to them.
Caterers who provide food under the school feeding program in the Ashaiman municipality have resumed work. The school feeding caterers suspended their services to schools in the area because they were not being paid the outstanding bills.
The caterers did not serve the school children last Friday, the first day of the action. According to them, they were owed for services rendered as far back as last term, 4.5 months worth of feeding fee, which they demanded would have to be paid in full. The sight of the pupils rushing to take their meals at the Ashaiman cluster of schools at lunchtime was enough confirmation that at least the caterers had been settled somehow. At the number 1 primary school also within the cluster, meals had been served, whilst caterers at number 2 were still busy in the final stages of preparation. Some caterers we spoke to said they decided to resume work even though they were yet to receive full payment and complained their location in itself is inadequate.
Our payments are delayed, so we are pleading with government to pay us on time so that we can also pay our workers, and also appealing to them to increase the 40 pesos feeding fee.
Municipal Coordinating Director Kofi Ejay Bafo explains the monies were released on Friday.
We don't pay them directly. The releases are made from Accra. Yes, we had it about last week. So when it comes, we have to confirm whether those releases have been done. And I think that they will appreciate that every time it comes, we pay them promptly. So I think that the fault is not from us.
He added, anytime payments are delayed by the school feeding secretariat, the assembly makes alternative arrangements to pay.
There have been several instances we have supported them so that they can continue their operations, especially when common fund and other sources of revenue. We can go into our IDF immediately. But from time to time, like I indicated, we have been assisting them.
The caterers are appealing to the authorities and government to increase the 40 pesos feeding fee per child, as it is not enough to cater for the costs. More than 1.5 million pupils in some 4,500 selected primary schools and kindergartens across the country are said to be currently benefiting from the free school meal program.
To bring you business news. 2012 saw a decline in foreign direct investment into the country, as happens to be the case generally in election years. 399 projects valued at $5.63 billion were registered with the Ghana Investment Promotion Council. Acting Chief Executive Mauna Treba, in her first outing since her appointment, however, describes the figure as appreciable for an election year.
The total FDI inflow for 2011 came to $7.68 billion in 514 projects, $2 billion more than the 2012 inflow of the $5.63 billion that came in last year. $4.9 billion or 8.83 billion Ghana cedis was in the local currency component, with the remaining valued in US dollars. Acting GIPC CEO Mauna Treba, however, says 2012 was a good investment year for Ghana, the decline notwithstanding.
Looking at the whole year for 2012 in review, the center registered a total of 399 projects in 2012. This is a decrease from what we had in the corresponding year of 2011, but it is also an increase compared to projects that were registered in 2008, which I'm referencing because it was also an election year. So it is still very positive news.
A total of 24,562 jobs are expected to be created from the 2012 investment projects, with Ghanaians expected to pick up 22,192 of the jobs. The remaining 2,400 going to foreigners, however, suggests foreigners are still taking up a huge chunk of very well-paying jobs that would have otherwise gone to Ghanaians. 7 out of the 10 regions, namely Ashanti, Brong-Ahafo, Central, Eastern, Greater Accra, Northern and Western regions, directly benefits from the projects registered during the last quarter of 2012, even though Greater Accra at 80% took most of them. The main drivers of the FDIs are building and construction, followed by manufacturing, services, tourism, general trading, liaison, export and agriculture in that order. China, meanwhile, remains the top investor country in terms of number of registered projects for 2012. In terms of the source of largest value of investment, Lebanon ranked first with $1.49 billion for 2012.
US billionaire John Malone's cable group Liberty Global has agreed to buy the UK's Virgin Media in a cash and stock deal worth $23.3 billion. The deal will create the world's largest broadband company with 25 million customers in 14 countries. Bring you some smart investment tips.